Welcome to Modern Motoring. This is the 2024 Subaru BRZ. It's the new TS trim, where TS stands for Tuned by STI. And through the power of editing, I'm now in front of the 2024 Subaru WRX. It's their new RS trim for 2024 in beautiful sapphire blue. I'm in Shannonville. I've had some track time with these. And in this video, we'll go through some of the big differences that make the RS trim for the WRX and the TS trim for the BRZ. Well, technology isn't perfect, and this is one of those cases. So my in-car footage and experience with the BRZ TS and the WRX RS didn't quite work out. The card got corrupted. It couldn't save the files. So I have the B-roll from the track event that Subaru hosted, and as you've seen already, I have my intro featuring both cars. So what we're going to do instead is just talk about what makes the BRZ TS different and what makes the WRX RS different, and I'll give you some driving impressions. And again, I apologize for the technological error. Maybe in the future they'll come up with a foolproof SD card, but until we get there, let's start with why these cars exist. So Subaru is known for safety and their symmetrical all-wheel drive. It's kind of the hallmarks of what makes a Subaru, and their eyesight safety system is probably the best in the industry. And impressively and interestingly, it's now on manual transmission vehicles. Starting off with the BRZ TS, TS stands for Tuned by STI. Now it carries the same engine. It's a 2.4-liter four-cylinder engine, 228 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque, and you get it in a 6-speed manual, and it is rear-wheel drive, very consistent with the BRZ brand. Now here's what makes it different as far as features go, because they have not tuned the engine or altered the output or performance of it. There are gold caliber Brembo brakes. There's enhanced initial brake speed and control, 4 pistons up front and 2 pistons in the rear. The front rotors have grown by 32 millimeters and the rear rotors have grown by 26 millimeters. And here's what I think makes the biggest difference. It's the Hitachi Astemo variable shock absorbers in the front and the iron steering knuckles. And that just helps you get, from what I experienced, just a more controlled ride. And it's not so rough and jagged. It's still got a little bit of refinement to it. And yes, I know it's still a BRZ, and you know it's a little lumpy at times, but that's just part of the fun of what a BRZ is. Over and above that, we have 18-inch wheels, and here's where I think Subaru did the best job. They put Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires on them, and those tires are probably one of the best ones in the industry for this class of vehicle. And my track experience, just it hugged and hugged and hugged the track. You know, there was a little bit of slipping and sliding, but that was by design for me, going around turns at higher speeds, again in a controlled environment. Basically, Subaru took the BRZ and said, well, we realize that, you know, people enjoy driving this. It can be a great daily driver. Subaru realizes that sometimes they want to take their BRZ to the track, and this is just an exclamation point on what a BRZ actually is. Let's quickly touch on pricing, because it is absolutely one of the strong points here. So we're at $38,770 plus your taxes. That includes your freight, PDI, and fees. And the Sport Tech is only $400 more. Subaru's packaged and priced this very aggressively, and it's attainable, which is an important part because, well, this is still a BRZ. It's a 2-seat rear-wheel drive, very fun to drive, and exciting coupe. So I think Subaru's done a great job here. And just to go back to driving dynamics, it still feels like a BRZ, but those noticeable differences definitely do shine through, again, specifically with the variable shock absorbers up front and those Pilot Sport 4 tires. I can see a lot of these being picked up instead of the Sport Tech. Now, the Sport Tech is only $400 more, so Subaru realizes that some BRZ drivers do take their vehicle to the track, and this is an effort to get them to take it to a track a little more often with these performance upgrades. And, you know, good job, Subaru, on that. And just to dip back to the driving side, I know I said it still drives like a BRZ, and that still rings true, but there's a little more polish on the drive, and you really feel those variable shock absorbers up front, and you can probably still feel them on the non-track, as in just regular roads and highways. Now, I did get a few minutes to do regular road driving with the BRZ, and I didn't get that much of a difference in impression, but I did feel the difference on the track with all these performance upgrades. Wrapping up the differences with the TS, you get front and rear badging that says TS. You get the blue interior accents and STI start button. Very, very cool move there. And the STI gauge branding. Let's change gears and talk about the 2024 Subaru WRX RS trim. So just like the BRZ, runs off the same engine. That's a 2.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, 271 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque, and it has the standard symmetrical all-wheel drive, whereas the BRZ had rear-wheel drive. And it comes with a 6-speed manual transmission. And Subaru's goal here was to balance performance with affordability and value. And I think they've done a terrific job. I'm going to dip into pricing right now. $44,374 plus your taxes, so that includes your fees, your freight and your PDI. The Sport Tech is only $100 more. So between the BRZ and the WRX, Subaru's done a terrific job of making this both attainable, affordable, and not wildly overpriced and out of reach. And it's not the elite few that can actually get their hands on these. Subaru's done such a good job here. Differences here between the RS and the other trims: you get red caliper Brembo brakes, 6 pistons up front, 2 pistons in the rear. The front rotors have grown by 24 millimeters and the rear rotors have grown by 36 millimeters, a contrast to the BRZ where the front rotors had grown by more than the rear. You get 19-inch wheels, and the tires that Subaru's decided to put on are the Bridgestone Potenza S007s as summer tires. Definitely do not use those in the winter. Get a dedicated set of winter tires. Also, you get optimized electronic power steering and suspension dampers. That really makes a huge difference both on road and on the track itself. The big difference comes through reduced sway and enhanced ride comfort. Yes, the WRX has always had that good balance between being a comfortable daily driver, kind of like a wolf in sheep's clothing with a ton of power beneath the hood, and if you need to unleash it on a track or a controlled environment, you can absolutely do that. Plenty of passing power. The subtle differences here really make a difference on the track, and again, that's what Subaru is going for with these, to have them spend a little more time on the track than the non-RS WRX trims. There's a lot of letters here. I'm surprised I haven't messed it up, but now that I've said it, I probably will at some point in this video. So there's a big difference in how the WRX performs on the track compared to the BRZ. You get the all-wheel drive, it's a larger vehicle, you get a higher center of gravity, and it's different, but it's still very enjoyable to drive. It takes the turns and corners extremely well. You find your apex, you go in, you go out, and those small performance differences without having to retune or create a whole new engine for these, it's just enough that you can notice a substantial difference when you're on a track. Regular street driving, just like the BRZ, it's a little noticeable, but not wildly. Here, just like the BRZ, they're adding an exclamation point to what the WRX already is. And with Subaru's eyesight being standard for manual transmissions, that's a real game changer here. I think Subaru was right to bring in an RS trim for the WRX and a TS trim for the BRZ. It's just enough to set it apart, and the price point is, compared to the rest of the vehicles in the BRZ and WRX lineup, they're kind of hard to beat, and you can't really make any arguments behind them for the upgrades that you're getting. Now, the final upgrade that I hadn't mentioned yet for the WRX is you get the Recaro seats and you get added bolsters. So it keeps you in place as you're whipping around your twists and turns on a track. That's going to wrap it up for the WRX RS and the BRZ TS. I'm still impressed I have not fudged the order of those letters. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already, and we'd love to have you join us on our social media platforms. We're on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, as well as Threads. Thank you so much for watching. We really do appreciate the support, and we'll see you in the next video.